Hey everyone. Well, yesterday was the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the first movie in the prequel trilogy. Wow, I can't believe this movie is already 20 years old. It's really hard to believe, people. I feel really old. So anyway, before I begin this review, to all you extreme prequel haters and Plinkett fanboys, do not tell me to watch the Plinkett reviews. Those reviews are awful. If you tell me to do that or try to argue with me, I'm going to send you straight to the State of Star Wars podcast review, or not review, defense of Episode 1. So you'll be well on your way to not comment and tell me how much the prequels suck, because I'm not going to listen to you. So anyway, Phantom Menace. I grew up with this film. I was born, about 2 years before it came out. And I remember seeing it first on VHS, probably in the year 2000. Oh man, what else do I have to say? So, where should I start? I actually thought of everything to say, but it's just kind of hard to get everything to come to me. But so, this film got a lot of hate, and I don't think it's well deserved. All right, I'm just gonna go into talking about the soundtrack. I think The Phantom Menace has the best soundtrack of any Star Wars movie. It blows away any other. And it probably has my most favorite piece of Star Wars music, which is the Duel of the Fates, which is a really just epic soundtrack that really adds to the scene that it was used in. Alright, what else? I will say this, I do like the characters, especially Qui-Gon Jinn. And yes, people, there are main characters, unlike what Mr. Plinkett claims. And those three characters are Qui-Gon Jinn, Padme Amidala, and Anakin Skywalker. Now, Qui-Gon Jinn, he's pretty much created to be what a Jedi is supposed to be. Following the will of the Force first over the will of the Republic, which was the main problem of the Jedi of the time period. They were just so staunchly traditional, but Qui-Gon Jinn, he challenges that traditional thinking. But as a result, he's not on the Jedi Council. And, Qui-Gon Jinn also, he wants to train Anakin, even if the Council does not want it. Man, Padme Amidala, she's a young, naive, and inexperienced young woman who really is prideful for her people and her culture and wants to protect them. And Padme Amidala doesn't get as much credit in comparison to Rey or Leia, because here we have this young woman, she's planning this military attack. It's really impressive and makes her as good of a role model for girls as much as Leia is. Now, Anakin Skywalker, he's a young boy who wants to be free. He has dreams. He wants to be a Jedi. He wants to explore the galaxy. He wants to be a pilot. And he really dislikes being called a slave. Oh, man. This, as always, George Lucas, he liked to push what you could do with special effects. So, since he had more technology to work with, he used a lot of CGI, but that's not a bad thing in this movie. The CGI, you know, some of it has aged. Like, the CGI on the creatures, like the CGI animals don't really look that good today. They have aged, but one thing that really does look impressive with the CGI is the battle droids. That looks really impressive today. It still looks good, in my opinion. And I was also really surprised the amount of practical effects this movie did use, and you would have to be blind not to see them, to be honest. In fact, the Phantom Menace used just as much practical effects as the original trilogy, if not more. It used more variety of practical sets and miniatures than the original trilogy did. And what else? I like the villain of this movie. Yes, this movie has a villain. Plinkett is utter bullshit. The main villain is Palpatine. He's pulling and manipulating the strings in the background, and Ian McDiarmid does a really good job as him. First, he's that cold Sith. He's very cold and mysterious and snake-like. But then we see him as Palpatine, the senator, and he's just like a nice guy. It's just really cool to see him do these all these three personas. And Palpatine just manipulates this crisis so he can become Chancellor and eventually create the Empire. And it's just so interesting to see him, you know, as a young politician. Another thing I do like about this movie is I do find the politics to be interesting. I mean, when I was a little kid and I watched this movie, I didn't care for them at all. I just like the action, but today I find the politics to be really interesting. What else do I have to say? Sorry if I pause. I'm thinking if there was something else I had to say about this. Oh, yes. Now, people have mixed feelings about the pod racing scene. I personally really like it, because we get to see Anakin Skywalker overcome something he had been struggling to complete. And I find that quite relatable, because the movie states that he never finished a race. He failed each one. And I've failed things in the past before, like I took a logic class over a year ago, and I failed it really hard. But a couple months ago, this was in the fall up until December, I just finally finished it, like Anakin Skywalker finishing that race. Man, another highlight of this film is probably the lightsaber duel at the end. This also goes back to why I started with the soundtrack, the Duel of the Fates. The Duel of the Fates really enhances the fight. It's well choreographed, and the fight is emotional and raw, unlike what all these prequel haters and Plinkett and all other people seem to think. No, it is raw and emotional. You can see the hate Darth Maul has for the Jedi on his face. And, you know, there's that one emotional moment with Obi-Wan after Qui-Gon is struck down. It's a good scene. And it doesn't really matter that, you know, they had no emotional connection with Darth Maul, because he wasn't even the main villain of the movie. He was pretty much a side villain, almost like Boba Fett was. So you really can't criticize Darth Maul. What else do I have to say about this? Now, is there any things I don't like about this movie? Well, it does have a few flaws, and it's alright. First flaw, Jar Jar Binks. Now, I don't have a huge hate boner for Jar Jar Binks. He's not the greatest Star Wars character ever. But, you know, he can sometimes be annoying, and he sometimes just ruins the pacing a little bit, especially if there's a serious moment where it's like they're supposed to be serious and here's him going boo and being goofy in the background. I mean, it's a bit off-putting, but it's not the worst thing in the world. He didn't drag the movie down, but it's just one flaw. But even though Jar Jar, you know, is not the greatest Star Wars character, like every single character in this movie, he served a purpose. Because, like, literally, that's another strength of this movie. Every character was not wasted, I don't think. Hell, even Jar Jar, because Jar Jar's purpose was, he brought the Gungans and Naboo united together to fight against a common enemy. So he wasn't a wasted character, even though he was a bit annoying. Another flaw I'd say the Phantom Menace has is I think Obi-Wan could have been used more. Like, when I was rewatching it earlier, I just noticed that he wasn't in the movie that much. And Ewan McGregor was amazing as Obi-Wan. And I wish he would have been given more scenes, been more involved. I still think Ewan McGregor did awesome as Obi-Wan. I just wish he was used more. Alright, so my verdict. Is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, a bad Star Wars movie? No, it is not a bad Star Wars movie. It doesn't matter if it doesn't feel like the original trilogy, because it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be different. And that's what makes this movie... That's the strength of this movie. It's different. It's a different time period, because if you just copy the same aesthetic of the original trilogy over and over again, it becomes monotonous, and boring. But I like that we see what the galaxy was like before the Empire. So yeah, this is a good Star Wars movie, and I think you should at least give it a watch. So, what do you think of the Phantom Menace? Do you like it? Do you hate it? You know, if you don't like this movie, I don't care. But I just can't stand the rabid prequel haters and Plinkett fanboys. So yeah, that's my review of the Phantom Menace. So yeah, like I said, give me your thoughts, and I will see you guys around. Sorry.